Yeah, peanut whatever.
I see. Mm-hmm.
Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Mililani Mauka Launani Neighborhood Board 35 regular meeting, August 20th, 2024. I call this meeting to order, and at this time ask Scouts PSA Troop 664 to lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise for the presentation of the colors. Troop attention, color guard attention, color guard, forward, march. Mark time, march. Right wheel, march. Ready, halt. Please join me in this Pledge of Allegiance, Scout salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Two. Color guard, forward, march. March time, march. Ready, halt. Color guard dismissed. You may be seated.
Okay, thank you very much, Troop 664. At this time, I'll turn it over to Vice Chair Tamashiro for meeting decorum.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair, and good evening, everyone. On behalf of your Mililani, Mauka, and Launani Neighborhood Board, again, welcome. And again, in terms of meeting decor, always are welcoming and looking forward to hearing your feedback, your concerns, and all your ideas. We just ask that if you want to speak, that you raise your hand. Please be recognized by the chair, and when the chair signals you to come up to the microphone and share your thoughts and feedback. For those joining us online, again, you can either use the raise your hand or to get the chair's attention, and the same thing, the chair will direct you when you can present your comments. And the last thing is we just ask that if possible, so we can get as much feedback as possible, to limit to about 3 minutes if possible. Okay, that's all I've had. Back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to our monthly reports, Honolulu Fire Department.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Firefighter Rossi with the Mililani Mauka Fire Department, Engine 41 First Watch. So the stats are for the previous month of July. If you have any major questions or very specific questions, please email the HFD's Community Relations Office at capital HFDNHB@honolulu.gov. As far as fires go for the month of July, actually pretty good. There was no fires, no brush fires, no structure fires, trash, rubbish, or cooking fires, just 6 activity alarms. As far as emergency goes, we had 27 medical emergencies, 2 motor vehicle collisions, 1 involving a pedestrian. And then as far as the safety tip for the month, this is for back to school fire safety. Educating students on what they can do to be safe during the school year is important and often overlooked. College students living away from home should take a few minutes to ensure that they're living in a fire safe environment. And this is just go over some of the points with fire safety. Don't overload any outlets. Keep lamps, light fixtures, and light bulbs away from anything that can burn. Never use extension cords with large appliances like a refrigerator. Cook only where it is allowed. Keep cooking areas clean and free from anything that can burn. If a fire starts in the microwave, keep the door closed and unplug it. If a disaster happens, knowing who to call and where to meet is an important part of emergency planning for you and your family. Pick one main contact locally and one contact out of town who may be easier to reach during a disaster. That's all we have for tonight. Any questions for us?
Okay, any questions for the Honolulu Fire Department? Anyone online? I have one question. So
sir.
following up again on the fire report for the Mauka fire, do you guys know when approximately you'll be done with that report?
Okay, that's the one last year, correct?
Yes.
Okay, I remember the question. I do not have the answer, but I'll ask our chief tonight, okay? And we'll get back to you next month.
Okay,
We'll do our best. Okay, appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
thank you. All right, next up, the Honolulu Police Department.
Good evening, Lieutenant Romel Baisa from the Wahiawa Police Station. Here to discuss some safety tips now that school is back. We want you guys to be safe, of course, but we also want to take care of our children. Make sure we define what stranger is to them, stranger danger, and cyberbullying. So we make sure we discuss that with them. As far as statistics for the beats that are part of your neighborhood board, we have about 250 calls for service for the month. 3 assaults, nothing extra special to report.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the Honolulu Police Department? Yeah, Teresa.
Hi there. So with regards to Mililani Mauka Elementary, and I've been working with the school towards the end of the school year, there's a very regular common issue of vehicles being parked on the street in the lanes in the afternoons, causing a backup of traffic for 20 plus minutes, especially for the city bus. Now, I've seen where the school worked with HPD, and I think probably Officer Inuma and their group to come and do campaigns, make sure people have their seatbelts on, car seats, things of that nature. I'm wondering if there's something more that can be done. And I think the school's kind of just stretched at this point. So that's why I came in for about 2 weeks to help alleviate some of the traffic congestion. But is there a way to have a liaison, even just being out front? People don't have to listen to me. When I say, hey, you're parked in the middle of the street, can you please move? You see the bus, he's been sitting there waiting to go. He can't go around you. So having campaigns like that where officers are actually, where I don't have to call 911 and have someone come off patrol and then come and address the illegally parked vehicles, the parents who just park in the road and walk into the school, that there could be a conversation had, because I heard it's starting up again. Now, we finally got the red sidewalks painted again, the curbs, but I almost feel like there might have to be a conversation where there's no parking before the driveway so parents can actually pull in. How does that work if we would want to have that? And I say we because the school, like I said, is stretched and they don't have the time to call HPD and be like, hey, can you come and do this? I'm wondering if there's something that I could do as a community member to help connect.
That's actually something that the school would have to work with the parents. If you're relying on HPD, you're talking about the 11 officers that we have for the entire Mililani, Wahiawa, and North Shore. So who you'll be calling would be the patrol officers. If there's something that you can work with our community policing team, I can bring it up with them. Unfortunately, again, you're talking one school versus all the other schools that they gotta tend to. So
Yeah, so
I'll bring it up to.
I'm just curious because as a community, Olaloa, sometimes they can't get out of their thing. We can't
Sure.
get out in here. And the city bus driver sits there. I timed it 20 minutes almost every day because parents come 30 to 40 minutes before the area is even open. So
Right.
I know the school's having their conversation, but I just feel like HPD is driving past it and they just keep driving. So then the parents think, oh, I'm doing nothing wrong. Right. So that's what I'm looking for because I can only tell them that you're parked in the middle of the street. Can you move along? They can just be like, no, I don't need to.
Yeah.
As the officer drives past and they're like, see,
Right.
you don't have a problem. So that's what I'm talking about, having that conversation. But I can reach out to community.
Sure,
policing.
yeah, and
I
then
just-
also I can bring it up with the
was
day
the
watch commanders
Okay,
and then see if there's something they can do. I can't tell you why they're driving past and,
it's okay.
All right, any other questions for Honolulu Police Department this evening? Anyone online? Okay, thank you, Lieutenant.
Thanks so much.
Next is Board of Water Supply, Kathleen.
Aloha, hope everyone's been well. Um, Pleased to report we had no main breaks in your community for the last month or so. We are participating in a program to develop access and affordability programs for those who are having a hard time paying their bills. When we were out doing our outreach on rates last year, one of the things we heard, and heard it from this board, was that, everything keeps going up and everything is getting more expensive. So what I've just passed out is a little slip with the QR code, and I'll leave these up here for the public for a survey that we're asking everybody to take. And please share it with your family and friends, especially people who are having a hard time, and especially seniors. We really want to develop ways to help them. And we've got some, I think, fairly creative ideas. And we hope to come up with something before the end of this year. So thank you. I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Kathleen. Any questions for Board of Water Supply this evening?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you for sharing this. Now, is this valid for homeowner associations and or AOAOs?
We don't care where you live.
Okay.
I mean, people that live in condos have to pay bills too. And if your HOA is going up, that's part of that is your water bill.
So when we fill, it's just a survey. So obviously we don't need any access to their accounts or anything, right? It's just our input.
Correct.
Perfect.
Thank you. Any other questions? Anyone online? Oh, thank you, Kathleen.
Thank
Aloha.
you. Aloha.
Okay, military rep, Colonel.
Good evening, everyone. Lieutenant Colonel Lander from 130th Infantry Brigade. So the monthly hiring fair was today, so it's kind of late for that one. The rest of August training, so we've got East Range, we've got Ranger and Jungle Tactics remaining for the 19th through the 24th, so now through the end of this week, and then next week, 26th through 30th. So it looks like daytime, only 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and it's small arms blank fire. Aviation training, we already had some discussion about aviation training, but remaining this month is the 26th through the 29th, and it's supposed to be day only, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And on Schofield, there'll be artillery training on the 29th, 6 a.m. to midnight, so that will be impacted in the evening. If you want to be added to the training advisory list, the email USAG Hawaii comrel@army.mil. Placed copies of the most recent media release here on the table for everyone. And then upcoming in mid to late September and October, there'll be the Joint Pacific Multi-Readiness Center. 25th ID will be executing JPMRC from JPMRC 2501 training exercise in coordination with the Joint Pacific Multinational Readiness Training Center and 196th Infantry Brigade. So it's a big event, a lot of traffic. The initial forecast is for about 1,000 multinational participants from Malaysia, New Zealand, Indonesia, Thailand, UK, Japan, Singapore, Maldives, Australia, and Canada. So, which it's an increase from last year for those that have been paying attention to numbers over the years. Be aware that there will be an increase in traffic potential and potential more noise. More details will follow in the September update. And the community relations number is 808-787-1528. And then finally, ma'am, I'd like to report that we got the notice across the garrison about the park facilities here in Mililani, and all the brigade level units have been notified. So it's their job to report down or pass that down to the subordinates. So subject to any questions, that's all I have this month.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for our military rep this evening? Yeah, Teresa, go ahead.
So what he was referring to with regard to the parks is there are mornings, usually Friday mornings, where some of the battalions come out and utilize Mililani Mauka District Park, the park next to the park and ride facility. A concern, well, some people were upset because, of course, we have to get permits and, you have coaches and teams. How come they can just use it when they want to? And, not understanding the sentiment. So I did have a conversation with the group that was there. Usually there's over 25, 30 people. And it's just a whole bunch of them coming together so that they can do exercise and team building kind of things outside of the military base facility where they would have to dress out and in their workout uniforms. Whereas if they come to the park, they don't really have to do that off base. So we just had a conversation, and I talked to community relations that city and county parks, most of them do require permits to use for larger groups or organized activities. And what I understand from speaking with the district offices who handle the permits, military does not pay the fee. They do, if it is a large event, they would pay a deposit and get that back. But they would also be required to do it. So just to keep a good community rapport and people not being upset, there is a way for them to get those permits. So we just had a conversation. So that's what was the conversation, so that everyone on the basis will understand, because usually they coordinate it themselves within their battalions.
Right.
Thank you for that.
All right. Any other questions for our military rep this evening? Anyone online? Okay, thank you, Colonel. Appreciate it. Okay, this is our first board meeting of the board year, so we have to take care of some board business. First order of business is election of board officers. You can nominate someone, you can nominate the slate of people, or you can nominate yourself. Board officer positions are chair, vice chair, secretary, and treasurer. Open up.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Alice.
to hurry this thing along, can I ask a question? Does anyone want to resign their various positions? And if not, I'm ready to make a motion to accept all and hurry this along. I mean, because I don't think there's a whole lot of us on this board, so I'm just asking for clarification.
I mean, if you want to go ahead, make the motion, go ahead. And I think,
Well, I don't remember who the secretary is. Is it Dana?
secretary is Susan.
Susan, okay. All right.
Stanton is the
I'm ready-
treasurer.
I'm ready to make the motion. I'm ready to make the motion. President Dean Hazama, Vice President, or Vice Chair, sorry. Vice Chair, the General, and Secretary Susan Miyamoto, and Treasurer is Stanton Oishi. I move that they be accepted as officers.
Okay, motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
A second.
I third.
Okay, seconded by Stephen. Any discussion? Anybody else want the jobs?
Congratulations.
Wait, we gotta do it that fast. All right, so we have a motion on the floor, been seconded. Discussion is closed. Any objections? Any abstentions? All right, the motion carried. Okay, moving on to B. Confirming again the meeting date, which is the third Tuesday of every month. The time is 7 p.m. Location is here, Mililani Mauka Elementary School. Format is currently hybrid. There a motion to continue with this, or any desire to make any changes to it?
So moved. Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, any objections? Any abstentions? All right. What was that?
I abstain.
Oh, okay, one abstention. Okay, next item C, board recess schedules, December and March. December and March. Motion to maintain the current recess schedule. Moved by Stephen, second by Alice. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, any objections? Any abstention? Seeing none, that is also adopted. Next order is adoption of oral testimony rules, public comments to 3 minutes, presentations by mutual agreement of presenter and the chair. And a motion to maintain this. Moved by Alice, seconded by Stephen. Any discussion? No discussion. Any objections? Any abstentions? Motion is carried. For last item, just informational formation of committees. Board members should basically notify the chair. They're interested in serving on the boards. I will ask a question if anyone wishes to change boards that they're currently on, or want to serve on a new board, please let me know and I will make those changes for next month. Okay, that was fast. Thank you, guys. Moving on. We have any residents or community concerns this evening? Anyone online? Okay, seeing none, I know the Department of Education is here this evening, so I'll ask them to come up at this time.
Good evening, Chair and board members. You folks are so efficient that I'm going to make my report so fast. They all can go home early. To cut to the chase, with government, there's a lot of paperwork. So I'm talking about the Mililani Middle School parking lot. So the city and county, I'm sorry? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Audrey Hidano, interim assistant superintendent. I'm an old body, but I've been new in the job, so please don't pick on me. And I belong to another neighborhood board, but I see how you folks run it. I'm gonna scold my board and have them run more efficiently. But anyway, again, this is about the Mililani Middle School parking lot. So right now, DOE and the city and county are doing all this legal paperwork back and forth, but we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So the parking lot in question will be allowed to use by the public. However, the school has priority. They have activities and stuff, so they would have priority over the use of the parking lot. There are fees that are in our admin rules that could be charged by said group. So they would have to work it out with the principal. The principal of every school that has a parking lot or any facilities, auditorium or cafeteria that is used by the public, they have to go online to fill out this usage of facility form. It's online. It was hard to print out, but we were able to print out a couple of copies. So I'll leave it with the chair and the neighborhood board secretary in case they have to distribute it. The fees, the minimal fees that are to be collected, and depending on the principal of the schools, will have to be for custodial wages, because every school parking lot has a cattle gate. So the custodian or whoever in the school would have to open and close the cattle gate. Sometimes in the parking lot, there are trash or rubbish receptacles. I understand in this parking lot, there is none. So the group that would be using the lot would have to take away their own rubbish. And if they don't, I don't know what the next step, if the principal will say, well, you're not allowed to use the parking lot because you left it a mess, et cetera, et cetera. So, and the most important thing is whatever group tries to use the facilities would have to submit what we call a certificate of insurance, meaning that that group has insurance for liability, as you can figure out. I think that completes my report, my information. And if there's any questions, I also have Jaylene Urasaki here, who's our facilities administrator. So hopefully between the two of us, we can answer any questions that you might have.
All right, any questions, board members? I promise not to beat you up. So I do have, I think, a concern on two of the points you mentioned. One is in regards to charging the public for use of the facilities. I understand about the custodial cost, but I think the city was talking about maybe having like a 2-lock system on the gate where one of those locks belongs to them.
Okay.
And then therefore you wouldn't necessarily need a custodian to open and close the gates. The only reason why under normal circumstances, I agree with the school charging. In this case, going back historically, the state was actually given this land by the city and county. And the use of this parking lot was one of the conditions of this transfer of property. The state needed the land in order to build the building.
Correct.
So I think in good faith, we shouldn't you try not to charge the people for using especially the park users, to use the parking lot. The second thing is on the liability, because I understand the state is going to want the city to maintain liability when using the parking lot. If that's the case, then why pass that liability requirement on to the user when the city will already indemnify? I mean, the city is going to basically be responsible for it, and the state is asking for double indemnity, which is, I think, not necessary in this case. So if the DOE is going to ask the city to basically be liable for using the parking lot, then I don't think the DOE needs to lay that responsibility onto the user.
Two good points, Chair, and we'll take that into consideration. And again, it's up to the principal of each entity.
The principal here. Oh,
Oh.
hey.
Oh, he took my seat. I didn't recognize him.
He heard you talking, so he's going outside. Oh. Hi, so yes.
Sorry I'm late. I was just at my open house, so
Oh.
yeah.
You know, she did a good job with the report. So there are just the two issues about charging again.
Uh-huh.
And I understand if you guys have to use your janitorial or custodial services, then you might have to charge, but
Yeah.
there was talk about using a double lock in case one of the locks would belong to the city in order to open the gate. And the second thing was about the liability requirement for the applicant. But I understand the agreement is going to require the city to maintain liability as well. So you don't want to double require liability, right?
Yeah.
So if you're going to hold the city responsible and liable, then you don't have to pass that on to the individual user.
Yeah. So, I mean, hopefully within the MOA, they'll work out the language so that there's an agreement between the two entities, and hopefully it works out.
So in the meantime, I guess, I know you forwarded, we had a complaint already from one of the,
Yeah.
I guess, park users.
Yeah.
In the interim, is there a process where they could use the parking lot right now?
There is, I mean, it would be going through our state DOE use of facilities, submitting that form, and then for us to be able to find someone who's available to open up the facilities for them. I think there might be some misunderstanding though, because some of the requests that we're getting, it's actually not for the J building parking lot, it's for the main parking lot.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if there might be some misunderstanding that part is not part of the agreement. It's the
Correct.
J building part.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
So some of that's a lot of the requests that we're getting at the middle school. It's for
So-
that main part.
Yeah, so I think as we push the MOU along forward,
Yeah.
the park user has to apply for a permit. So I think the county parks department is willing to clarify that for you guys. To
Yeah.
say, hey, if you're gonna use the big parking lot, your lower lot, then
Yeah.
obviously it's a different process than using the J lot, right?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, right now in the interim, we can go through the use of facilities process that we have with the Department of Education.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chair.
Hey, yeah, go ahead, Teresa.
So from looking at historical documentations and, every staff changes, people change, the conversations that were had in 2016 when the initial start of this was going on, people in place now are not the same people. I mean, our council member Minor is not there. Senator, obviously, Dela Cruz is still there, but those I think are the missing components. And I feel like right now, these conversations are just happening in someone's office. It doesn't feel like it's an open process for outside people to give their manao, their information, because those were the people at the conversation tables then in 2016. It's almost 10 years now. And so in the beginning, it was under the city was going to let the state use the land, and then they're going to own 1.5 acres. And then there's all these agreements, shake hand agreements, I think was what had happened. But because the players are different now, it's moving in a different direction. And I think overall, the people who should be at the conversation table should include community members that are having to deal with the overabundant cars parked along their streets, the clubs and the teams that utilize that space. but then making them understand that it's J lot, it's not the big lot, it's J lot. So I think there's no conversations. Some of these people remember what happened in 2015, 2016, what they were told, but now what's actually happening, I think, and those people are frustrated, right? And so I think part of it is there should be maybe a community conversation on campus for teams, coaches, people who are interested to understand and put both sides, put the city and the state next to each other, because this department has to handle the park permit. Now it seems asinine for them to say, okay, but you need to use that parking lot, you got to go over here. And then there's all these other rules, right? So I think that J parking lot needs to have a joint form almost for an additional addendum to the city's permit. But again, that conversation's way above anybody's pay grade here. But definitely having that conversation, I think, in the community, at the school, even just one night might help alleviate a lot of this friction. Yeah, I don't use it. I don't go over there if I don't have to. But I hear the feedback, especially from the coaches and the teams.
Okay, any other questions? Oh, your mic's on. Okay.
Well, while Steve is messing around with the microphone, I just, I just have a point of clarification because I'm not sure that I know the answer to it. I'm not even positive. But the youth organizations, when a youth organization goes and rents a park, for instance, a park down there off of Kamehameha, don't they automatically carry liability insurance?
I'm assuming they do. I'm
Well,
assuming when they go through the process to do that through the city, but I don't know the details of what's.
Well,
in-
yeah,
in
because
that.
because my knowledge is from the mainland. But my knowledge is that all youth organizations had to have liability,
Yeah.
whatever the city or the state or the county said they had to have,
Yeah.
before they could even be on the park. Thank you.
Chair, Principal Shannon, we talked before, and I wrote this up concerning the partnership with the state and the county. Because if the parking lot is open, why can't the county, when they go close the gates at their other parks, come up here and close the one here? That could be part of the MOU. Then you know it's closed. You know the county is responsible for it. You know, you're kind enough to let it be open for their usage, and the county goes and checks the area, makes sure it's policed, locks the gate. Same way they do it at the other parks. We could put that in the MOU, that'd be great.
Okay. Any other questions? Anybody online? All right. Thank you.
Thank
For
you.
the update.
Sorry for being tardy.
It's okay.
Thank you, and your questions will be taken into consideration. I'll leave you 2 copies, Dean, of
Okay.
the online.
All right, thank you. See, I wasn't that hard on you, see. All right, any other community or residents' concerns this evening? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our elected officials report. The governor's rep wrote to me, she will not be here, but I believe she did upload the governor's report on our Google Drive, so we have it. Office of Congressman Ed Case Nestor is here in person this evening. Aloha.
It's a rare sighting, just like Bigfoot or something. Sorry. So Chairman, members of the board, those who are watching online, those who are present here tonight at the Mililani Mauka Elementary School. Chairman, you have, and members, you have the written report from the congressman. I'll just skim over it. I know you can read it in detail at your leisure. If we've been following the news reports like tonight, you know that there are several storms that may be coming our way, yeah? So referencing disaster prevention, and one of the items in your report tonight, Congressman is working to see whether or not he can get funding approved by his colleagues to develop what's called a community disaster preparedness information platform. Essentially what that is that this will be like a one-stop shop for information so that all of the relevant agencies, government, even nonprofits, the private sector can all share information in advance of a storm that may be coming our way so that everybody can be on the same page how to deal with the disaster and how to respond to it. Yeah. A lot of it is coming because of what happened with Lahaina. There's been some concern about the selective service. Now, we all know that the selective service for men, when they turn 18, like I had to do that, you automatically have to sign up, yeah? Doesn't mean that the draft is coming back. Now Congress is thinking, hey, why don't we do this automatically? Why don't we do this automatically when you turn 18? Because it was incumbent upon the men, the young men, to, find out that they have to do this. A lot of men don't. A lot of young men don't know that they had to do that. So Congress is thinking, why don't we just do it automatically, okay, for young men? That's in the House version. In the Senate version, they're saying, why don't we do that for women too? For women too, when they turn 18. That's the Senate version now, okay? Just want to make that clear. So both sides will have to come together eventually, and they have to work out their differences to determine whether or not which version is going to work out. And then finally, speaking of the military, service academies. Each member of Congress has the ability to nominate young men and women to a service academy. So we're accepting nominations or applications from young men and women. The military, the West Point Army, Naval Academy at Annapolis, the Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs, and the Merchant Marine Academy as well. Yeah, 4 service academies. So we're accepting applications, and we just got a few so far. There's some criteria that you have to meet. Come to our website to determine what that criteria is. The deadline for applications is October 11th. That's a Friday. Close of business in our office to accept applications. With that, and I'm sorry, I also had my report put on the chat online. So for those who are online, they can go to the Congressman's report online as well. Any questions, Mr. Chairman, members?
Thank you, Nestor. Any questions for Congressman Case's office this evening? Yeah, go ahead. Yes.
Nestor, for the service academies, based on last year, the congressman, on the number of applicants that came, how many were recommended to the service academies, and from there, how many were accepted?
Sorry, I don't have that information right offhand right now. I know there was a bunch of people that applied. Yeah, I'm sorry, young men and women that applied. And not just our office, but also the other members. Yeah. So they all seem to try to get together and kind of figure out, how many are going to be nominated. Yeah. I don't think there's any kind of limit, but I can get back to you on that information about how many actually applied and how many actually got in. I always was curious about that because in the years past, I wondered for those that got in, whether they went all the way through to their, academy, and then they have to serve, right, in the military service. I think minimum is 4 years. So I always kind of wondered about that track record. So I'll try to get that information for you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Teresa.
Hi there. So looking over the HAIMA, where you folks are looking at getting things coordinated, I just wanted to make you folks aware that Representative Amy Peruso has helped to coordinate, her office is helping to coordinate neighborhood emergency contact volunteers,
Okay.
where we'll be issued radios to help
Right.
coordinate within our different zones and district areas. I'm sure if she's on here, I'm sure she'd probably want to have a little bit of conversation, but I just wanted to put that out there that might be something that they would want to look at being a part of this once if and when it's established, that we could be a responding agency to.
So the state is looking to us to try to get the money for their platform. I think the city and county might have.
I think
A
the city
platform?
on one side,
Yeah.
but then not so much money wise, but just to be a part of the not coordination, but to be a contact point for this. This looks like
Yeah.
something, I think Representative Peruso might be interested in her office, looking how we can connect since we have coordinators already volunteering,
Okay.
I was voluntold, but anyhow, I'm one of those radio carriers going forward. But I think that would be something interesting for us to be able to see too, and kind of excited to look forward to what that might look like as a tool.
Okay. Have representative contact
I'll let
us.
her
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Anyone online? Thank you, Nestor.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yep. Okay, Office of Mayor Blangiardi. Carrie, is Carrie online? There you are.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, Carrie.
Good evening, Chair Hazam, board members. Deputy Director, I hear a feedback. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, I don't know why I hear feedback, but I'll try to get through this. So I'm sorry, again, Carrie Casso, Deputy Director with Budget and Fiscal Services, representing Mayor Blangiardi's administration this evening. Maybe along the lines of public safety, it's worth mentioning that Mayor Blangiardi has put together a wildfire working group consisting of public safety, HFD, HPD, emergency services, and it's led by our emergency management team. Also on this working group is HECO. And what we've been doing for the last several months is, trying to do coordination, planning, try to be prepared in the case of fires rather. So we haven't really shared the extent of what we're doing, but I think it's worth noting that we, given what has happened in Maui, and we have ongoing fires. There was one at Launani. The city is trying to take proactive measurements by forming this working group. We forgot, we didn't have the July meeting, but nonetheless, July was the start of our new fiscal year. I wanted to share that Mayor Blangiardi's priorities as we enter the new budget year remained sort of the same as prior year, where affordable housing is top priority. Hiring, filling vacancies so that we have capacity throughout the different departments at the city is also a high priority. Fixing DPP is one of the other mayor's priorities. And, we hear the public with respect to real property taxes and, trying to help taxpayers with the fact that just trying to pay real property taxes is a challenge. City Council has actually introduced in this last month a number of real property bills. The administration and Budget and Fiscal Services feels that we're taking the position that we are asking City Council to form a permitted interaction group so that we can strategically evaluate the different real property tax bills that are being introduced by City Council members. In fact, I think in this week between our Budget Committee and Housing Committee, there's at least 7 new real property tax bills. Much of it is to provide tax relief to taxpayers. At the same time, we have to be careful about what measures we try to implement, because real property taxes is essentially our biggest source of revenue for the city, and that's how we pay for city services. So anyway, I think those are some of the items that the public would be interested in to know what Mayor Blangiardi and his administration is working on. I'm open for questions.
Okay, any questions for the mayor's office?
Chair,
Yeah, go ahead.
Carrie, Stephen Melendez here. Were you online when we had the discussion with Mililani Middle School?
Yes, I heard that.
Okay, can you see if you can get DPP to work with, call the DOE, her name is Audrey, and she's acting assistant superintendent, and see about if the state does have the gate open for Building J to allow the sports teams to use on the weekend. Can, at the end of the day, a county person that works for the parks come and shut the gate there, lock it the same way they do the other gates, the other parks, pardon me. They could do that, that'd be good.
Okay, will do. We'll find out.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, any other questions for the mayor's office? Harry, I know it's been a while since the June meeting. Then we have a follow-up with DDC to find out about the road paving schedule for Mauka.
I apologize, Chair. I don't have that on my open list, but I'll be happy to follow up on that.
Yeah, we're trying to get a start date. You know, they've been telling us the contract should have been issued every summer. So, so we wait summer. So, you know, it's going to be August. So summer's going to be over. So we just kind of want to figure out if they know what the start date is going to be and where they're going to start. There's some details.
This is for the sidewalk repairs.
No, this is for the street repaving in Mauka.
Oh, sorry, street repaving. Okay.
But since you brought up the sidewalk repairs, that has, you know, I don't think we got an answer from them I know they were looking into something.
Okay. I will
I
check.
don't think we got I don't think we got an answer from them.
Sorry about that. I will check on both.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions for the mayor's office? Anyone online? All right, thank you, Carrie.
Thank you.
Okay, Council Member District 8, Val Okimoto's office.
So I do have an update for you on that. Chair, members, Jamie Shadell, Council Member Val Okimoto's office. The contract has been awarded. So it is with the contractor. They're still doing planning and design. Our understanding is that they're working with Department of Parks and Recreation's Division of Urban Forestry because of the tree roots. So they have to do all this additional whatever they're doing to make sure that they're not cutting the wrong roots and killing the trees, and then they can go under and scrape the road and resurface it. I will have a better update. We had a meeting with the Department of Design and Construction yesterday, and we're so focused on other areas that we forgot to bring up that specific project. So, but we will have a more information. DDC does have their quarterly report, so that comes out next month. Council met on August 7th and passed a handful of bills and resolutions, including appointments to the Fire Commission and to the Planning Commission. The council is having their committee week this week. As Deputy Director Castle mentioned, there are a handful of property tax measures being discussed. One of them that does stick out, I can't recall the number, but it does raise the income threshold for the property tax credit. So there's differences between credits and exemptions. Committees wrap up on Thursday with the Committee on Planning and the Economy. They're going to be going over that land use ordinance review bill, Bill 64, followed by full council meeting on September 4th, 2024. At that meeting, we're having a resolution waived from committee straight to the floor. Resolution 24-199, which specifically relates to e-bikes and strongly urges the legislature to come up with a 3-class system so that whatever the council passes doesn't get preempted by state law. And I have to emphasize that because the council is limited by state law to make any traffic ordinances that are inconsistent with other counties. On top of that, you have some of these e-bikes that are basically dirt bikes, and that falls under state jurisdiction, DLNR, Division of Forestry and Wildlife. So that was the quick solution, is doing the reso, sending it over to the legislature. But we are still looking at other options. We can ask HPD to enforce, and continue to urge the community to call 911. There was an incident where MTA had enough and HPD went out and they issued 14 citations in one day. So they are out there, they are looking, but sometimes they're hard to catch. We urge anybody with any questions or concerns to call us at 768-5008 or visit us at honolulucitycouncil.org. Pending any questions, I'll stand on our written report. Mahalo.
Great. Any questions for Council
Chair.
Yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Thank you for the report. Is resolution 24-199 online?
Yes, it is. You can access it from honolulucitycouncil.org. And
Okay, thank you.
yes, sir.
Any other questions for council members? Anyone online? So Jamie, what is council's intent regarding regulation of the e-bikes? What do they want to do?
So right now, they're considered bicycles.
Right.
So they get registered as bicycles and kids have to wear helmets under the age of 15. And then that's, you get into some weird gray area with, can the city council reclassify these higher speed or with the bigger batteries, some of them that go up to 70, 90 miles per hour? Because at that point, some of them don't have pedals anymore. They're not bicycles. They're basically unregulated. So there's 43 states that have a 3-class system set up. And then that can be, obviously the legislature gives the authority to the counties, and then the counties can go in there and come up with the motor vehicle registration schemes. Do you classify them as dirt bikes? Do you class them as electric motorcycles? Kind of, you have electric cars, right? That's kind of like that gray area that never like, oh, here's these electric mopeds or dirt bikes. So our hands, we've gotten back and forth with the attorneys from our office at Council Services about, if you do it, can we do this? No, you might get preempted by the legislature because of the statewide traffic code. So we're still working on the actual legislation, but it has to be really pigeonholed to what the county is actually authorized to do under state law.
Okay. And then no other county.
Chair,
Is it-
sorry.
Hold on. No other counties addressing this issue.
Not to my knowledge. I'm not sure how you're Kauai.
Okay, go ahead, Teresa.
But that's a good question. I'll go ask that question to our researchers.
I think what's good to add to the conversation too is where they can be used. I know North Shore was having some issues near Sunset Beach Elementary because there's a walk path. So what's the definition of a walk path versus a sidewalk versus a bike that can be on a sidewalk? And all these, it got really sticky because HPD showed up and they're just like, what one do we look at? So I think even having that kind of language where they can be used might be helpful for council members in general to kind of align where things can be used or not. Because, they have pedals. So again, technically they're a bicycle, but then what about the ones that not? And who's supposed to stand there and figure it out? So I think that would be good to also look at where they could use it.
They did recommend that. I know MTA is heading in that direction, but then you run into issues of sign pollution, and then it doesn't cover private property but as far as parks, they're not supposed to be in parks. They do it anyway. So that's actually where I don't want to give out where, they're looking for e-bike riders, but but they had they're out there watching, and we thank HPD for their efforts, because that's been one of the biggest consistent complaints in the recent months is e-bike riders popping wheelies on Meheula and going into Launani Valley. So, the kids are taking that risk. And one of the things that council member want to look at is holding the parents accountable. So,
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead, Alice.
I'm sorry, I may have missed what you were saying, but was the e-bikes, because I've been keeping track of the MTA letter, and it seems, and I don't know the legal things on this thing, but to simplify it, if it's a motorized something or other, e-bike, moped, whatever. If it's, don't you have to be 16 to have a driver's license? And that seems to be one of the problems there. The other problem is, if in fact it is 16, then the manufacturer or the seller should be enforcing the license for the 16-year-old. In other words, and there should be some liability insurance and stuff like that. I don't know where you guys are going with this whole thing, but it seemed actually simple to me that 16 is the date when you have to have a driver's license. If you're not 16, you don't get it. Nothing motorized. I mean, and I just have it simple, but I know nothing is simple.
nothing is simple in government. The only definition in state law is that it's a bicycle, and you don't need a driver's license to operate a bicycle. So that's one of those things that, hey, you're allowed to do this, city. But that's a good one on the what the other counties are doing. It's just, I haven't heard anything.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions online? Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, Council Member District 2, Council Member Wire's office.
Aloha Chair and members of the board. I'm Kelly Anaya from Councilmember Matt Wire's office. Just a couple of things. Just wanted to highlight some exciting things going on in Wahiawa District Park. I know a little bit out of your district, but still neighboring to you. The Parks Department is going to expand the skate area. And so they're going to be holding a community, like an info briefing next week, Tuesday, August 27th at 5:30 at the district park to discuss the plans that they have, not just for the skate area, but for the rest of the park as well to accommodate the expansion of the skate area. So if you know anyone or if you yourself are interested, please feel free to show up so you can ask your questions. A couple other things, Bill 64 regarding ag use on the land use ordinances. That's going to be coming up for the next couple months. So please stay informed and make sure you get your testimony in, get your voices heard. Also, Bill 45, Councilmember Wire did co-introduce that with Councilmember Cordero. I believe Mayor's Rep did kind of touch upon that. This is in regards to increasing the income threshold. Currently, it's 80,000 for the title holders, and this bill, if passed, would increase the income threshold to $100,000. And then lastly, Bill 43, which Councilmember did introduce with Councilmember Okimoto, this would allow the homeowners to pay their property taxes in 4 installments. Unfortunately, this was actually deferred and is currently postponed. So further discussions can be had. And then since we're talking about e-bikes, we are having some issues like Board Member Cruejo mentioned up in the North Shore area. So I believe the Pupukea bike path, that which you're referring to, I believe HPD got quite a bit of complaints about motorized, I guess, vehicles. So not just e-bikes, but mopeds, golf carts, etc. Anything with a motor is actually not allowed on the bike path. So the first week they were out, HPD was just there to warn. They just were warning people. I believe the second week, only one person was tagged, but that's because the bike, I believe, was not registered. And then by the third week, yeah, they did see unnoticeable improvement, like nobody on e-bikes and no golf course, mopeds, etc. on the bike path. So hopefully, maybe the educational enforcement will stick. Also, I'm not sure if you know, but you actually need to be 15 to ride e-bikes. So I know even coming to the meeting tonight, I seen a whole bunch of young kids out there. So yeah, I believe Board Member Rogers mentioned about holding the parents accountable. Yeah, that would be great because I'm sure they're the ones buying the e-bikes for the kids. And also, you know, I've seen some riding without the safety equipment. So I'm not sure why you would buy a $3,000 bike for your 9-year-old and not the safety equipment, but that's not for me to judge. Yeah, so we do have this flyer that we do hope to kind of pass out through, especially I believe it was about a month ago. There was an incident out in Wahiwa. That young boy was hit. So yeah, we do have that. And then let's see. Week Street. Unfortunately, I don't have any updates. I know I did ask DTS if they could expedite yet another traffic study with regards to the Trinity Church. I know that they were hit yet again. This is about 2 months ago. So during Councilmember Suniyoshi's time, I know we did submit multiple requests for DTS to do a traffic study. They all did kind of come back saying that they were unwarranted. Again, with this most recent one, DTS said that they would be revisiting having a traffic study again. So, but unfortunately, I don't have any updates at this time. And that's it for me. If anyone has any questions for a council member, I can take.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Alan.
light bulb just went on. What does it take to make our park accesses or whatever?
Which
a motor, the thing you were talking about, no motorized vehicles.
I'm sorry.
You said no motorized vehicles.
Oh,
What does
that's
it
not
take-
that's not.
What's it take to do that in Mililani, for instance?
Is Mililani's bike path private? Because the Pupukea bike path is actually under city, so that's
Oh,
why.
is that the difference?
Yeah, so I believe Mililani Mauka doesn't really have too many issues with e-bikes except for that ravine, which I was told was private.
Ravine's private.
No,
you do have-
we've got them. No, we've got them. Oh, no, we've got them.
And I'm assuming HPD has been called to do enforcement. I know they were having problems with the ravine area. 'Cause
Well,
that
I was just hoping there was a light at the end of the tunnel that I could use.
Please don't convey it to the city. We have many to take care of. I'm sorry, but is it a private bike path?
The ravine is private.
It is private, yeah. The ravine is, is that the area you're talking about? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is. Sorry. about that.
Okay, any other questions for Councilmember Wyer's office? Anyone online? Okay, thank you, Kelly.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, moving on to Senate District 17, Senator De La Cruz's office.
Yep, tuning in online. Malachi Burrows from Senator De La Cruz's office. So I'll share updates from Senator. So first one, just wanted to touch on project at Mililani High School for teacher housing. So there was money appropriated in 2023 to the School Facilities Authority, SFA. Just to kind of give a breakdown of the funding, the initial amount was 170 million for statewide teacher housing projects. That was reduced by the governor to 50 million through line item vetoes. And it was reduced again following the Maui wildfires down to 5 million with the funds being redirected for the recovery efforts. So with that being said, the state is looking at a public-private partnership to finance the project, to supplement just the 5 million that's remaining. As far as timeline, SFA has requested the best and final offers from 4 applicants for the project. And they're looking to award to one of the applicants in this month, August or September. And basically, the ultimate goal of the project is to provide a resource for our teachers in our communities, and hopefully we can retain more teachers by providing that workforce housing, because that's, we all know that's such a key piece of keeping our teachers in Hawaii. Moving on, did want to highlight the biosecurity legislation that was passed during this session. So the big bill was HB 2619, which was signed into law by the governor in July. It did come with some vetoes, line item vetoes. So the initial amount was about 20 million. A lot of it going towards invasive species response. The total amount was brought down to about 10 million. So about half the funding was vetoed by the governor. But that being said, it's still, a pretty unprecedented amount of funding going towards the Department of Agriculture, who received the funding. So it includes 44 positions in those critical areas like plant quarantine inspection, and positions like that are directed towards protecting the native species, keeping those invasive species out of the state. And specifically for invasive species, funding is directed towards coconut rhinoceros beetles, CRBs, and little fire ants. So still a lot of funding going towards Department of Agriculture to manage those invasive species. The last one I wanted to touch on is the Mililani Mauka Elementary School covered play court. So it's another project in the district, and construction is almost complete, and we've heard that it should be ready for usage this current school year. I don't have an exact date or month, but should be ready this school year for use. And then I did want to touch on the e-bike conversation. I did hear Jamie from Councilmember Okimoto's office mention that the counties are limited in what they can do based on state law. So, and we have heard concerns from the community about the e-bikes and the usage. So I will definitely take that back to Senator and our team in our office, considering that it could fall in the state's hands, the classifications and possible legislation. But thanks for having me. My first time on here, so nice to see your faces, and any questions I can try and answer if there are any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Senator De La Cruz's office this evening? Anyone online? Okay, seeing none, thank you. Moving on to Office of Representative, District 38, Representative Matsumoto. And Lauren.
Good evening, Chair, members of the board, and members of the committee. So great to be with you all after our break. Wanted to go over a few things. There's been a lot of bill signings at the Capitol, part of the Women's Legislative Caucus. I'm a co-convener. And so we had our bills signed into law by the governor, and so there's a photo there. I also had the opportunity to interact with other public officials from Australia. They came in with the American Council of Young Political Leaders program. The other thing I wanted to make sure, because our office has been getting a lot of calls, is about the condo insurance issue, which I know many of you attended the town hall that we held with Rep. LaChica's office earlier. And so if you weren't able to make it, I wanted to let you know that you can watch the town hall. We recorded it. And if you go to repmatsumoto.com, we have a pop-up now. And any information that comes up about the condo insurance, we're putting on that page because we're getting so many emails and so many phone calls. And so we're directing people to one location where they can get that update so they can see the town hall that we had with all the experts that are speaking. The governor had his task force, and I'm sure many of you saw the emergency proclamation. All of that information is on repmatsumoto.com, and we are continually updating it as we get more information. So if you know of people who have issues, and there's a lot of people who you wouldn't think have condo insurance issues, like at the top of Mauka, because all of that area is CPR'd. There's a lot of areas up there that they're having a lot of problems, and their insurance rates are going up over 300%. So a huge cost of living issue, a big thing that we failed to address in the last session. It failed during conference committee. And so something that we've been working on. Again, the bus driver shortage, we've all heard a lot about that. And then on the 15th, just this week, the Education Committee held a hearing to address the issue. DOE has restored 34 bus routes, but this is an issue that, needed to be addressed 2 years ago, something that is a nationwide issue, but we're facing it heavily here in Hawaii. Our research team has done a lot of looking at other states and some possibilities, because one of the biggest issues you have is for the bus drivers, they work in the morning and in the afternoon, and there's nothing really in the middle. And some creative states have employed bus drivers at the schools to do lunch services and those kind of things, janitorial services. And so looking into those options so we can hopefully incentivize more people to be bus drivers, but that's going to require a public-private partnership there, but we'll stay in tune there. The In the Community section got to be at Meheula Vista 4 for their dedication ceremony of their kapuna housing. Again, got to meet with many groups about the condo insurance crisis, was able to partner with HPD and many other community volunteers to do graffiti cleanup around the area. And my kids are actually able to join for that. So that was something they enjoyed doing. And then just was able to be at the complex leadership workshop where all of the schools in Mililani, the elementary schools, the middle school, the high school, they had their student councils come together and were able to talk about leadership. They have a lot of wonderful insight to give. It was a great time. And then on the very back, we have our resources. Again, there's another QPR training if you'd like to sign up for that. Assisted living information. And also we have highlighted there's free computer classes at the library. So if anybody's interested in there, go to the Mililani library, or you can scan the QR code on our handout. And that is my report for this evening. And if you didn't get last thing I'll say is if you didn't get a copy of my full session report, because I know we didn't have the June or July normal meeting, I do have that available in the PDF form, and I can send that over as well if you didn't receive it last time.
All right, thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
I can tell you what we've done with our homeowners association and how we're getting out from under. So and I can give you the details at a given time. So if you
I can have my office
do that.
Yes, I can have my office reach out to you, Alice. They have your contact information. Excellent.
Okay, any other questions? Go ahead.
Thank you for your report. I did get a call from your office, and then I believe Tom, the director, asked me also to chime in on a conference call with the governor's task force. So I said I would. So whenever that comes about, I'll be glad to support it.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Because again, this is an issue that's not going to be solved by one emergency proclamation.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen.
Okay, any other questions? Anyone online? Okay, so
Okay. Oh, yes.
Two follow-ups. So, I'm going to ask you about the emergency road status.
Yes.
Where are we with that?
So we've been reaching out to Ed Sniffen. We'll get a full update I know he said he's been working on a lot of other things right now, but we'll get a full comprehensive update. We were hoping to have it for you today, but we're going to have it. If we have it before the September meeting, we'll get it out to you. And then if not, we'll make sure to have it by the September meeting.
And the second thing
He
is
said by end of year, so we'll hold him to that.
end of which year?
I know that's a good question.
The second thing is the bus shortage thing. This is not a situation that's unique to Hawaii, apparently
Yeah.
nationwide.
Mhm.
So I know some, and I know on the mainland, the counties basically run the school bus systems. So, they own their buses and they run them themselves. Has the DOE ever looked at some kind of study to see if they could augment the shortage by hiring their own or buying their own buses and hiring their own drivers?
I don't know off the top of my head if they've done a study. I know some of the schools have taken, like Mililani High School, have taken the initiative to buy their own school buses. Now, the difference is like the Mililani High School bus, you don't need a CDL license for that, right? You can be a teacher and go through their training and be able to drive it because it's like a 15-passenger bus. But as to an exact study, I can go look into that. I can also give you, I had my research team go through an entire memo of what's been done in the state that they have found, but also what's been done across the country. And I can share that memo with you as well, because that's something that our office has been working with them on very closely after we had the announcement come out at the beginning of school. And I also talked with DOE. One of the other issues is, our offices found out through people calling us. We weren't even aware that there was going to be a letter sent out. So had some conversations with DOA going, hey, it would be nice to be brought into the loop ahead of time so we can help to get that information out instead of having, the barrage of phone calls come in and say, wait, can you please send me the email that you got? I haven't seen what has happened yet. But yes, we'll see what happened because this is an issue across the country. NCSL, the National Council of State Legislatures, has done an entire brief on this issue as well. So I know there will be a lot of legislation coming up for the 2025 issue session.
Maybe that's the answer. Just get a whole bunch of smaller buses where you don't need the CDL licenses.
Yeah, so the issue.
DOE has a habit of cutting routes in central Oahu and rural areas, which
Yeah.
are the areas that can least afford to cut service. I mean, like the Big
Yeah.
Island of Hawaii, I don't know if you've ever been there.
Yep.
But the schools are so far,
Far
there's
away.
nowhere the students going to get to school.
Yeah. And so that's, again, something they're looking at. Some of the difficulty, it might be able to get students to school. The problem we have is also, they said field trips. 15-seater bus isn't enough to get even one class out to a field trip. A sports team, you're not going to be able to get them out to their meet. So it's bigger than just getting the kids to school. And so if you have something bigger than the 15, the CDL, but that could be something that mitigates for some of the schools that might work well. And I know some of the schools have used their ESSER funds in order to do that. But again, this is an issue that has been coming down the pipe for a long time, and we've need to do a much better job in addressing it. But we'll see. I've been talking with the area principals, and that's been kind of the issue. 15-seater will work for some situations. Some of the elementary schools, it will work great. But as you get up to middle school and high school, they start to run into some issues.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? All right, thank you, Lauren.
Thank you.
Okay, Representative District 46, Representative Peruso.
Hi, Chair. It's Yvonne from Rep. Peruso's office. Can you folks hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm just filling in for Rep. She's attending the DNC in her capacity as a legislator. So she's sorry that she's not able to make it this week. But just following on a few updates. It's already been mentioned before with other office updates, but just to start off on what board member Teresa is sharing about the emergency preparedness efforts that Rep is doing. So she's equipping coordinators in Launani Valley with radios. And right now we're trying to add a few more radio frequencies to allow more coordinators to be able to use it without having to get their ham radio license. So allowing them to, more people to just be able to be part of this emergency preparedness work. But we're happy to also connect with Congressman Case's office to work on their project or help with their project. Another update, so we just recently met with Colonel Rachel Sullivan, so the new colonel for the U.S. Army garrison on in Hawaii. And just to follow up on some ongoing issues, most of them were issues that were impacting Wahiawa area, Launani Valley, but some of it might also be tied to what you folks have mentioned before as well. So in our meeting, the Army mentioned, or Colonel Sullivan mentioned that they're working with the city and county to identify evacuation routes in case of emergency in the Waianae area. So they're looking to extend the MOU to Wahiawa. So if there's any land areas or training areas that abut Mililani, Launani Valley, or any evacuation routes that Mililani or Launani Valley could use, that could be a part of a discussion that we can bring to Colonel Sullivan as well. And then lastly, with the school buses, so on top of the education info briefing that was held last week, Rep hosted another meeting with the representative of Hawaii Island, Rep Capella, and the Working Families Caucus to discuss more like long-term issues with the DOE. Their government relations person, Ken Kakesako, was there as well, and he'll be giving our office an update on like what solutions are feasible for like, or what long-term solutions they're looking at. And yeah, if any of you folks want to hear any of those updates, you can sign up for our digital newsletter. We don't really print too much during the interim, but we send out regular digital newsletters monthly. And I can put that link if any of you folks want to sign up on our website. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Representative Caruso's office? Anyone online? No, thank you. Okay, Representative District 37, Representative La Chica.
Hello, Chair, Board. This is Jared Ellis for Rep La Chica. I was actually prepared to speak on a number of topics that the other legislators have covered to great detail. So I'd be happy to stand on our report and just take any questions back to the representative.
All right, any questions for Representative La Chica's office this evening? Anyone online? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
All right, moving on to approval of our board minutes. This would be for our June 18th, 2024 board meeting. Any corrections or comments? Hearing none. Any objections to adopting the minute?
Mr. Chair showed me his abstention since I was absent.
Excuse me, go ahead.
I was absent, therefore abstain on the minutes.
Okay. All right. One abstention, no objection. The minutes have been adopted. Moving on to our reports, Central Oahu Regional Park.
No report.
Okay, no report. Education committees, Stephen? Okay. Anna, go ahead.
Thank you. I'll go ahead and present. This is concerning Mililani. Are we able to share the document? If not, I'll just talk it. Okay. That's
You get
okay.
the email with that.
This is the report for Mililani Middle School. It's going to be up on the NCO website and also in our Google Drive. I'll go over just some of the main points. Main points that there was a letter out from DOE on August 8 stating that the 34 previously suspended school bus routes in Central Oahu, having to do especially with Mililani, Lilihua, and Wailua complex were restored. They were restored as of August 12th. So thank God that we got that broken through. That's fine. We also have the Blazer calendar here at the bottom. And another item up on the top of page 2, which is important concerning our keiki, is that when you go up on our the NCO website, do you see this there? And there's also copies of this over here. I posted up on here a live link concerning the students' meals. There's a link here to get free or reduced meals at the cafeteria. It's actually HTTPS secure.easymealapp.com. All you do is apply online. Any parents that would like to look at that, that'd be great. I was on the board for 10 years for Mililani Middle School, 5 years on the PTSO and 5 on the SEC. And they go over the board to really help the students, especially in the cafeteria area. They do a great job. And then one more item on page 2, right-hand side, is that the high interest program after-school curriculum is open. Currently, they have about 35 programs. It's all free. And they're great. It's a great way for the students to build friendships and academic interest of students of similar minds. And we do have the 24-25 academic calendar on page 2. Any questions?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I was able to contact Mililani Ike Elementary School. They announced that they're going to be participating. Their student council and campus patrol will be participating in the Mililani High School homecoming this on Saturday, September 14th. Parade starts at 9 a.m. And as far as Mililani Mauka Elementary School, the principal held its first SCC, which is School Community Council, on August 6th, and which I was able to participate as one of the community members, one of 2 community members. And Mililani Mauka is hosting its first fundraiser for the school year this Thursday from 4 to 7. 20% of the proceeds will support the student council of the school. And just as another fundraiser, Wheeler Middle School always has an ongoing fundraiser. If you'd like to help their school out, they participate in all the Papa John pizza. You just have to send your label attached to the pizza box and drop them off at the Wheeler Middle School main office. And that's my report. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Military Civil Defense.
No report.
Parks and Recreation.
Or
Planning, Permitting, and Zoning. For Transportation, there was no meeting this month. Recognition and Service Awards. All right, anyone have any other announcements this evening? All right, seeing none, we have no more board business on our agenda. Next board meeting will be held on Tuesday, September 15th, 7 p.m. at this location and via WebEx. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.